So once our project has been created, we will now be setting up our code structure so that the development environment is good and ready for us to develop the related UI and feature components. So first of all, let's go to our jsconfig.json file and let's set up the base URL according to our requirement. We don't need the default one for this video. So let's select the src folder for our base URL and we'll be selecting star as the import path inside src. So this is done for our jsconfig file. Then what we'll be doing is we'll go to src and here we'll be creating a folder called components. In this folder we'll be placing all the UI related components that are reusable, and we'll be using those components inside our pages. So let's create our first folder, that is layout. That will be the root component for our child components so that we can apply a global styles on all of them. Let's create another folder that would be our container and let's name it chat container. Let's create the file for it and name it layout.jsx. In this video I'll be creating every file manually instead of using the command line tool so that you can get an understanding of how it is done underline. Let's go to chat container and repeat the same process, chat container.jsx. Let's collapse this. Let's create a file called constants.jsx. We'll be placing all our constants over here. Now close all the files. Let's go to API and remove the default hello.js file. And let's create our own file, that is socket.js. We'll be using this in order to pass our request to the socket server. Let's close this file. Let's start our project. Npm run dev. So it will say that it cannot find the files using @imports, and it's easy to fix. Don't worry, just go to pages, app.js. You can see where the error is occurring. Over here we have the import stated like this. Instead of using this way of importing the files, we'll be using it in this way. We'll be simply using it without @ and it would work perfectly fine. You can see the server is running successfully. Now let's check our application in the browser, and here as well it shows us that the styles are being imported using @. So let's fix this. First of all, go to your code editor, go to index.js, remove the @, save the file. Now get back to your browser and you can see the application is up and running. Now what we will be doing is we'll remove the default content from our Next.js application and we'll be writing entire UI from scratch. In order to do this, go to index.js and remove all the content which you find inside the main. Remove it, save it, and remove the imports and constants that we are not going to use right now. Enter and image are also removed. Click on save. Also go to styles, go to global, click on select all and delete them all and save. Similarly go for home.module.css, remove all the CSS except the main. Click on save. We'll also be removing all the CSS for main except main height. Later on in the videos we'll be removing all the files from here globally and we'll be using them in the centralized and individual module component. Click on save. So click on save and close all the files. Now let's run our project once again. Confirm that you are in the right folder and run npm run dev. Now check if your project is running in the browser. So you can see our application is up and running at localhost 3000, and also if we inspect our developer console we can see that there are no errors and warnings, so that's a good sign to start up. Additionally, when we go to our code, collapse all the files And let's create a prettier file. With .prettier RC extension. Inside this file, create an object. Use trailing comma. Make it none. Use tab width. We'll be using 4 instead of 2. For semicolon, we'll be using it true. Then go with single quote. We'll be using single quote, so make it true. Also, we'll be using brackets for spacing, so make it true. For JSX, bracket same line. We'll be using it, so let's make it true. Arrow parenthesis, we'll be using it, so make it always. And let's clean up our file and then save it. So this will allow Prettier to read this file and format our code according to our configuration. Prettier C configuration is totally optional. It's up to you. It's totally up to you. If you're using some other extension, you can configure this file or other file according to your requirement, but this is totally out of context. And with this, close the file, and we are almost set to start up with our first development step and install the dependencies. So see you in the next lecture.